pretty awkward introduction to the neighbors here on Feed Please. A vile visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
Wouldn't you know it? In the nuclear fallout of World War III, every single copy of The Most Dangerous Game was destroyed. I'm your co-host, Peter.
And Peter, this is our first podcast we've recorded since we've actually started premiering all of our Deep Space Nine content. And I just want to, therefore, say hello to all of the folks that we have apparently roped into this nonsense with us. We thank you for your interest. Maybe you're still here. I don't know.
Hopefully you're enjoying all of the profanity.
But as a one-time thing, we try to keep our communities a little isolated just because we know like bots and weirdos tend to congregate in things that just have open door policies. But I will start to put some links into the episode descriptions for our Discord. And if you want to join that, you can avail yourself of the opportunity. We'd like to bring some folks in, but please behave yourself. We're all adults. I don't know how else to put it. If you want to be a weird internet person, this isn't going to be for you. If you want to have some pretty, shall we say, normal conversations about Star Trek with like-minded adults, this will be for you, and we invite you to join. So, what did we watch this week, Peter?
We got into Season 1, Episode 6, Captive Pursuit. First aired January 30th, 1993. So weird seeing 90s in here, man. Like,
going from Voyager, yeah,
going from Voyager into Enterprise, and the Enterprise wrapped 2004, right?
Yeah.
Jumping back a decade. Teleplay, Jill Sherman Donner and Michael Piller. Story by Jill Sherman Donner. Directed by Corey Allen. These are all new names minus Michael Piller.
I went to see if Jill Sherman Donner had, in fact, been a co-writer on The Dangerous Game. Unfortunately, they only co-wrote one other episode of Star Trek, and it was Rascals.
Not the most shining resume.
I covered yourself with glory there, Jill. But despite the, shall we say, I don't know,
elementary
homage this episode is to a very famous movie. Not a bad episode. In fact, it's I think the origin point of a meme you've probably seen a lot, Peter, and that is Miles O'Brien, hero of the working man. They go down back to this well a lot. Chief O'Brien is the blue collar advocate of the Star Trek universe, and that includes blue collar professional prey, I suppose.
Certainly there in abundance. Jumping to the end a little bit, I like Babel more than this one because this was such a paint by number plot. Like, this thing really felt Voyager to me. This would have been a script perfectly at home in Voyager in terms of, here is some shocking new thing that we have discovered, and how are we going to get through this dilemma, the politics it involves, and still make our morals and feelings okay.
A total lack of computer security as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll get to that.
But it was that foreign quadrant feel and the importance of, this is the first time we're encountering this. I feel like if this was a TNG episode, and that's something I want to a lens I want to look through these is, maybe intentionally, is, how would have Picard and the Enterprise handled it? And I think by the end, you would not have seen the blatant mutiny.
No.
And I think that this would have been one of those episodes that in Enterprise where like it was kind of a sour note ending of like, well, we did what we are obligated by oath to do, and nobody really feels great about it. And like, there were a fair number of those, and I'm sure Deep Space Nine will get into some dirty shit, but like here, it was more of like smudge the rules and kind of smirk at each other and ignore the fact that 3 people just got murdered.
I think that the TNG solution to this would have been to apply some kind of bureaucracy and or accidental pressure that was designed to still fall within the limitations of the rules to present the same outcome. But the difference is in the execution, where instead of Picard and Riker or whoever coming up with a plan to delay the hunters and allow the huntee to escape, and oopsie fell into a whole batch of whoopsie daisies here, boys. Good luck anyway on trying to track that guy down. Instead, it's like Miles O'Brien going on, a, a secret agent hunt where he's blowing. He's like responsible for several murders.
That's what I'm saying.
By the
Here's
end.
the Enterprise. Enterprise would have solved it by, hey, listen, we totally were going to hand that guy back over, but our holodeck took over the ship and endangered all of us, and all of the excitement there, he managed to slip away. Our bad. Blame Moriarty. Speaking of being on the hunt, I would have to say, hands down, my favorite part of this episode is this ridiculous introduction.
Quark's a dirty boy.
Star Trek and sex are intrinsically linked because the groovy 60s and 70s and a very horny Gene Roddenberry, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we move into Next Gen and season 1 or 2. Hey,
still horny.
Loosey-goosey, sexy late 80s Star Trek guys. And as Next Gen matured, like, there was a little bit there, but you didn't have Riker standing around with his hairy nipple hanging out anymore, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was still happening, but it was much more restrained and I don't appropriate to the circumstances.
You jump into Voyager, which comes after DS9, and
sexless almost
until you get 7 and 9.
Yeah,
and then it's exploitive. But, Tom Paris, we're supposed to be told, is a little bit of a rake, and the Delaney sisters. But it's, you get into Enterprise, and they're rubbing glitter and gel. And, like, the sexual element is there, right? And minus 7 of 9 asking Harry Kim point blank, do you want to mate or whatever, right? It's either, like, body massage and innuendo, welcome or not, to the audience. Or it's like beat it over the head, sexy robot lady in tight revealing outfits. The real world feel of this opener where you got a Dabo girl, like, the owner of your bar has basically contracted me, or has tricked me into contractual obligation sex. And I've never seen anything like that anywhere else in Star Trek. Like, I am the fact that just the line, like, I have to have sex. And that's basically verbatim what she says. Like, I've never heard that verbiage used in Trek. And it was jarring, but it didn't seem out of place or bad. Like, what a great job they're doing at painting Deep Space Nine as a fucking dump.
Yes, it is a dirty flea market, I think is what O'Brien calls it at one point in the episode. And it's sleazy. It's Quark is a sleazy guy. He runs little hollow sweet fuck palaces. He employs scantily clad women to entice people to gamble. He sneaks in Ferengi language provisions that they have to fuck them. This is being well done, and Sisko having to navigate this because you can't have Quark leave. It was like in the premiere. You have to stay. I need this shady operation to continue because I'm not in Federation territory and I need people who are not comfortable with Federation rules to feel comfortable coming here, or this isn't going to work.
So I would like more scenes fleshing out. Quark saved the day at this point, right? He was involved in Babel, running ops, basically preventing the station from blowing up.
Correct.
He's basically a hero at this point. So I get why they're not just going to flat out kick him out. But I would like more in-character discussion of, like, I recognize that I'm going to have to work outside the rules of what's acceptable, and I need instruments to do that. And very clearly this guy is good at it, so I'm going to tolerate his nonsense. Odo, back off a little bit. Whatever, but just at this point specifically, and what I love about Sisko in this scene is he's got his jumpsuit fully zipped.
Which business time, yeah.
I can't tell you any time I've seen a main crew member or a main cast member who has a Starfleet jumpsuit full zip. And again, as we've pointed out back in Voyager, you can tell how cool or popular people are by the amount of jumpsuit that is unzipped. So him being in here, I think that, I don't know, costuming seems like real crazy on Deep Space Nine. I know specifically when they get into the First Contact uniforms, like there's the episode where Cisco's badge is like on the shoulder padding, basically.
Yeah, the first episode they're in those, they didn't know where to put the comm badge on Cisco for some reason.
And maybe some of that's here since these are still new uniforms and that we're only, 6 episodes in. But I like him full zip there. Like, I am in full administrator mode, and I have to sit here and listen about how some lady who's brand new to the station has been essentially sex trafficked. How am I going to deal with this?
Right. He's like, all right, I'm just going to tell him that's a no. He's not allowed to do that. But before he can really follow through on this plot line that we, maybe thought the episode was going to be about, instead it's going to be something else, something that seemed inevitable. And that is that the wormhole is opening, but it's not the traffic that they expected. It's someone coming from the other side without having come from the Alpha Quadrant first. This hasn't happened before. This is someone from the Gamma Quadrant coming to visit. So it's yellow alert. What's going to happen? What the hell is it?
Let's talk about that real quick, since this is the first time it's happening. The Federation has been in a very peaceful time. At the beginning of next gen, we've got floating cruise ships full of families doing deep space exploration a la the Galaxy class. A very relaxed doctrine. The last major conflict was the Cardassian skirmishes along the border. And then here comes the Borg. Here comes Wolf 359. And you've got a radical shift at the top brass of Starfleet, and they start beginning some very interesting ship design initiatives.
They got busted in the chops. They lost a whole bunch of ships. They realized that they were way behind the 8 ball in being able to defend themselves effectively. It forced them essentially to have to compromise with the Cardassians on a treaty. Like that's the reason why all of this is where we are now, is they can't afford to fight a war with the Cardassians. They lost too many ships battling the Borg. They're too weak.
That's something I didn't think about.
Yeah.
And I should have, because that's a direct result. Like, I'd love to see Cisco at some point, like, these goddamn Cardassians, the only reason they're getting away with this is because Wolf 359. We lost the bulk of our military force and we're in a weakened state. Like, this is why we're playing ball. And I don't know why I didn't put those two things together.
And further, it's going to come out sooner rather than later, Cisco's duty, as we know, prior to being in Deep Space Nine, was what? Designing ships. Well, gosh, what ship did he design, do you think, that's going to show up in this show and that is built to fucking kill?
Oh, that would be the Oberth class. Oh,
yeah, the Oberth. Yes, the well-known galactic fuck machine known as the Oberth.
Yeah, that's why that bottom skid
out there.
That bottom skid's not a cargo bay. That's a dick, and it just puts it in everything that gets in its way.
It just fucks.
That's actually a dirigible. That's the Hindenburg it's carrying around at all times, and that's why they're so explosive.
The Defiant. He built the Defiant. He built the most militaristic ship that Starfleet has ever produced. Because why? Oh, we got our shit pushed in 6 inches, and we do not like the fucking feel of that. So,
So it's a TV show, and you tell good stories, and you want to have reasons to tell those stories. My point being, you're sitting next to this wormhole. God knows what's going to come through. You just got your asses beat by the Borg. Somebody out there in Starfleet should be like, hey, this is a liability. Like, maybe we send a ship through just to sit on the other side and watch out for problems and kind of like be a gatekeeper over there. So it's not just any armada assembling. And, obviously that's going to turn into the Dominion at some point, I'm sure. But the fact that there's no lookout post over on the other side really seems crazy to me. And I'll be curious to see at what point they get around to actually setting one of those up, if at all.
So when the ship comes through, it's a tiny little thing. And there is a reptile man who is in it, who's a little combative. And,
of course, as the Trandoshans are.
Yes. So a very Trandoshan-y looking guy, except with a more human face, comes through. He doesn't want help, but, if he doesn't get help, his ship is going to explode. He doesn't want to be beamed off. And it is O'Brien who kind of just real talks him very bluntly. Say, let me tractor you in. The graviton field from that will keep your structural integrity together enough that we'll be able to dock you and we'll be able to fix you and send you on your way. He grudgingly accepts this gesture, and that's when Dax brings up like, well, we've got a first contact situation here, but we should probably do this a little differently than we normally would because this dude does not appear to be super friendly. The only guy who seemed to get through to him was Chief O'Brien. So why don't you go down there and, I don't know, talk to the guy, fix his ship for him, figure him out, report back.
First of all, let's get nitpicky. Boy, did that universal translator work fast.
Oh, so fast. So whatever clicks and whizzes this lizard from the Gamma Quadrant, just perfect English right away. Never a problem. Not even brought up.
Space magic. The whole first contact thing here, like, man, this dude's coming in hot. He seems real weird. This is a reptile of some sort. Boy, I sure hope he doesn't like eating pink skins. O'Brien, here's the deal. I know that you're not a trained diplomat, and you're just basically a grease monkey, apparently, at this point. Why don't you and your gold shoulder pads go down there and handle this monumental occasion of a first contact with a foreign quadrant? And hey, you know what? I know that we've got a shape-shifting security dude who could just turn into, like, you know, your briefcase or, I don't know, a dolly or something that you're schlepping shit on. But I'm going to send you in there alone.
Yeah, don't wear Odo as a backpack or something, and then like politely put him down. And yeah,
so when you show up
to
a ship that appears to be completely empty, which just stinks of me of setup, like along with the most dangerous game, I'm guessing that just about every single horror movie where someone walks into a basement and gets murdered was also lost in the so-called World War III. So I'm sitting there like, I'd like to see a recut of this scene, him like showing up in the bridge or the shuttle pod and it's empty, and just put a little bit of sinister music in there.
Yeah, like little dark synth, boom, 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 like it's the thing or something.
Yeah. And the whole time, I'm just like, you got the phaser on your hip, bro. Like, get that fucking thing out, or just take a big step back. Maybe he's feeling cocky because he doesn't have like a TOS red uniform on, but this just has clobbering time written all over it.
So he goes in, and then he like gets on his hands and knees and like gets into one of the consoles while he's like talking to nobody, just like narrating what he's doing, and then eventually
gets down on all fours, just asking for it. Really,
just right there. Just you get the double axe handle right to the back of the head, right? Like total kill shot.
If you're lucky, or the old birth comes up behind you and really gives it to you. This isn't some fucking brand new rookie either, right? Like, what can you think of off the top of your head that Enterprise that he was serving on face that like should be coloring the layers? Like, oh boy, is this gonna be another Roga Dinar situation? Is this gonna be another escaped turbo fugitive that is gonna like throw me through the roof and then, I don't know, transport me into space or take me hostage, or any of the other zany adventures we got into in the deal? Like,
he's supposed to be the most like combat aware like guy who's used to like actually getting into physical conflicts with people.
This appears to be a setup. Do I take a step back and shut the big Vault-Tec door?
Yeah, I was going to mention that. What do you think of the gear doors as the aesthetic for Deep Space Nine? I do too.
I mean,
it makes it feel different than the nice swooshy doors, you know?
Absolutely, it feels dangerous. Dare I say, shades of Event Horizon, a little meat grindery. Right,
it gives this foreign space station a feel that it's not Federation technology.
It's uncomfortable. Nobody really fits through them well, and it also seems very practical. So, do I take a step back and shut the Vault-Tec door and wait for like somebody to watch my back, or do I walk into this alien ship and essentially drop the soap?
Well, he drops the soap, but thanks to good fortune, the alien is the kind to just hand him the soap back, and sure enough, he uncloaks and immediately starts talking to O'Brien. And this guy, as we will find out, is named Tosk, or he is a Tosk. He doesn't clarify on that initially, but he's known as Tosk.
The species is Transdoshan. His name is Bosk. I turned on subtitles. It's Bosk.
Do you think that was all an accident, or do you think it was on purpose?
How can it not be? You are Star Trek. The number one thing you are compared to at all times
is Star Wars.
It's not Babylon 5, guys. It's Star Wars. All right? That is a Trandoshan, and you've named him Tosk. That's Bosk. They knew
Jill well, yeah.
Jill Sherman Donner, I don't buy this for a minute.
You borrowed both from Star Wars and The Most Dangerous Game. We got double plagiarism on you. All right, so okay, they're out there getting to know each other, and O'Brien's like, all right, well, we'll fix your ship. Why don't you come with me, and I'll give you some quarters to stay in while we fix this. So we get a relatively long shot of him slowly making his way through the promenade and talking with O'Brien and like encountering some things and them having some dialogue with each other. And immediately they're trying to establish a rapport between O'Brien and Tosk. Tosk is very, very awkward. He is very literal, I suppose. He's not he's very kind of like in his movements, he's even just kind of almost robotic, but he's not aggro at all. He's almost naive in the way he's approaching things. Like we find out that they only sleep for minutes a day, that they don't really need to eat. Whatever his species is, they're all business, and he's just like a little bewildered by everything that he is encountering.
I want to say something else about O'Brien. Despite what they're painting this picture of him in Deep Space Nine, think about what his role as a transporter chief would have entailed on the flagship. The number of strange aliens and first contacts that he would have been indirectly involved with as essentially the doorman to the Enterprise. So, they're playing up this blue collar, my sleeves rolled up thing, but like this dude is probably a more experienced and practically better diplomat than Archer is based on what we saw from season 1 and season 2.
All true. He's very confident, right? Like that's probably the best thing about Chief O'Brien is that he's not trying to impress anybody. He's very sure of himself. And so like, yeah, I'll go down and talk to him. Yeah, I'll show him to his quarters. Yeah, I'll just talk to him and get a feel for him.
I brought
just do it.
Thousands of people onto the flagship of the Federation. Like I know my way around talking to strangers.
Yeah.
Other good things that pop out of this conversation as they're taking the tour, according to O'Brien at this point in the game, and this is increased, right? There's about 5 to 6 ships per week docking at Deep Space Nine. This is after it's become a big deal because of the wormhole. And he's saying that there's only 300 people on Deep Space Nine?
Correct.
That's crazy. There's how many on Voyager? 100
like 150, 160, like, yeah, about half as much.
Enterprise was 1,000 or so. Only 3. So is that?
That's the people who live there. So there's probably more people there because there's a bunch of people docked there and traveling to and fro and using it as a hub. When he's saying how many people live here, how many people stay here, it's about 300.
So Tarek Nor was a mining, an ore processing facility?
Correct.
So presumably a big part of the internal space should be industrial manufacturing space, not livable habitat, living quarters, basically.
And the Memory Alpha description of Deep Space Nine says that it is when it was crewed by the Bajorans, it was crewed by the Cardassians rather. It was crewed by 2,000 people.
Dang.
So this is a fraction of its capacity for crew. It has a capacity of 7,000 people they can have on it at any time. So
this is a ghost town right now. And I'm guessing those numbers are only going to swell. I want to track population as we get
it'll be interesting to see how consistent or not consistent they are about this as time goes on.
And the anatomy of Deep Space Nine itself, the promenade, is that the entire outer ring, or is that something in the central core that's basically like a shopping mall? Like, what is it exactly?
So the inner ring area, so the station does have like the outer ring and the inner ring elements. The outer ring is where you've got crew quarters, where you've got the docking ports. In fact, we kind of saw this as part of the walk and talk, right? The ship docked at a very clear dock on the outer ring. That's where the long Cardassian hallways are. It's where the Vault-Tec doors are. And we've also seen this is where crew quarters are located when we've seen people go to them. That's in these same hallways. They walk through a security barrier, which is where we have these connecting pieces to the hub, and in that hub is where the promenade is the outer ring of that hub leading to ops, which of course is going to be at the center at the top. So you have all of the operational like core of the station kind of insulated by the docking ring.
All right, so he takes him on the tour. Again, 300 people on the station, 5 to 6 ships per week. Bosk is very interested that such a hub of commerce and civilization exists. He finally brings him to his quarters, opens the door, apologizes for the Gothic architecture, saying that he didn't pick the settings here. He'd much rather put him in a Holiday Inn Express.
But, you know, they have a good end to their conversation. He's thankful. And then, of course, he goes immediately to the computer and asks where the weapons are. And because this is, while it might be a Cardassian computer, it's Starfleet security. So it definitely tells him immediately.
Whoa. Okay. Last week, Babel. Computer, help me. I'm starving. The replicators are broken. Where can I find food? Resident of the station and person who's ostensibly paying rent. You don't get to know where food is. That's restricted knowledge. Oh, what's that? Completely fucking alien thing that just came out of a space butthole? You want to know where the guns are? Well, by all means. You don't need a drawer full of cologne sampler code rings or whatever the fuck those isolinear chips were.
We'll tell you where you are, but you better have better security if you want to know specifics.
Yeah. Yeah, here's all the guns right here. You want me to draw you a fucking map?
In fact, it did. Just classic of the genre, right? Sloppy, crappy writing is not something that DS9 is going to be a stranger to sometimes. It's just like, do you just couldn't have him hack it? Like you couldn't have him like have to interface with it a little bit and like fool it to tell him? Like you just had to spit it out for him? Like, okay, sure. Whatever. So when they reconvene their conversations, they're like, who is this guy? And O'Brien's like, he's amicable. He's nice. He's a good guy, but he's definitely lying. His ship didn't just break down. He got busted up. I identified immediately. He got shot, and he got shot this way at this angle, which is a great establishing point for O'Brien to be like, I know what battle damage looks like. Mm-hmm. I know what angle he got shot at. He was fleeing. He was doing this.
I know what shifty aliens come on here saying one thing and doing again. Again, I'm not going to sit here and go episode by episode through Next Gen, but like many times you had deceptive aliens showing up, bringing their problems, dropping them on Picard. Like that had to be rumored down through the cracks, through the grapevine. Like everybody needs to know on the Enterprise, like aliens lie. This kind of shit happens. Cisco, again, big first contact, just refusing to have anything to do with this guy whatsoever.
Yeah.
There's
never meets with him, never has a conversation with him.
There's no B plot, right?
Nope.
It's not like he's in intense negotiations with Quark trying to rejig this poor Davos girl's contract so she doesn't have to like put out.
In
right?
fact, the B plot appears to be O'Brien repeatedly going into Quark's and mistreating him, calling him barkeep, and kind of being shitty and then leaving. Like that seems to be the B plot.
The B plot is he has not accumulated enough gold press latinum to afford a holosuite yet, and he really wants to live action role play some sort of Dark Ages tavern scene, and he's just forcing Quark into this role of barkeep. It's non-consensual,
which Quark basically does, like without too much complaint. He just kind of grumbles at first, and then is like, "Okay, I guess you're just going to keep calling me barkeep." Sure, whatever. Human.
Maybe he reads up on what barkeeps are and he goes, okay, they like this kind of emotional support structure. Maybe I need to lean into that. So again, Cisco doesn't want anything to do with this guy or any other of the like command staff, which who's wearing burgundy on that bridge really? It's just Cisco, right?
It's just Cisco. Dax has got blue. O'Brien's in yellow, and Kira and Odo are Bajoran militia, so they don't wear. Although I guess Kira, if she was in a Starfleet uniform, would be wearing
red.
burgundy. Yeah,
she's command. And Cisco's like, hey, keep him under surveillance. And again, we're going to ignore the fact there's this shapeshifter dude who should be doing all of this. Like, you're fixing his ship. I'm also saddling you with security detail. Here's a guy. He's sketch as fuck. And you're going to be the only point of contact he has. There's also some Chekhov's gun there where they walk through a security checkpoint, apparently on the docking ring airlocks that when
You go into
O'Brien
the
goes through.
promenade area, yeah.
Is it the promenade or is it just coming off the dock?
Well, the docking ring is where you would have all of those people start to filter through, first through the habitat ring and then into the promenade. So it makes sense.
Goes through, some disco lights go off. Bosk is jarred, and he's like, oh no, this is just a metal detector we have. So when people bring in guns,
this definitely will not become important later. So yes, he's fixing the ship. He's getting to know the guy. He continues to not tell him anything about what happened. In fact, just won't answer the question and just kind of stares at him, but he's still pretty nice, sympathetic. O'Brien's getting along with him well. He's learning some idioms in English. Again, that universal translator coming in real handy. And, he's kind of amazed that humans have so much downtime to sleep and enjoy themselves. He thinks it's weird. Real point made about that.
Uh-huh.
And nothing's really happening except they're getting to know each other, yet there's this sort of unknown backbeat going on. And it isn't until Tosk goes to try and access the Bosk goes to access the weapons locker where finally the fact that there is a shapeshifter in this space station comes in handy, as a extremely not suspicious painting on the wall next to where the weapons are suddenly turns into Odo. And he says, I'm just going to lock you in here with me until you give up.
Hey, man, nice to see you finally getting around to doing your job.
The painting was so like, really? That's the best you could come up with? You're just going to be a good thing this guy is kind of dumb and doesn't know that paintings shouldn't be in this hallway. Or you would have given yourself away real fast. Could you imagine being an actual criminal and be like, wow, I wonder if that's Odo?
I wonder if there's a spy cam in there. Like, yeah. You couldn't have been a pipe.
Yeah, right. Or it's like a bag of tools on the ground. Like
it could have been a defibrillator up on the wall, or like a water fountain.
Only this guy would have overlooked this ridiculously like gothic, like awful painting.
What's this antique love seat doing here in the middle of the hallway?
I'm going to take a little napperoonie. It's a little
wow. Look at, there's a motorcycle sidecar just laying here.
Fuck,
Odo, you got me again. Have we seen other species that can self-cloak? Nobody's making the big deal out of this. I feel like it should be. Did O'Brien at any point relay to Cisco, hey, by the way, this guy can turn fucking invisible?
I think it was mentioned in maybe the first briefing. It is interesting that apparently this ability they intended to explicitly bring into the Dominion stuff that happens later. And when it happens, I'll tell you about it. It was probably the most interesting tidbit from the Memory Alpha was like they had thought of this episode when they started building out like the capacity of the Dominion and who was involved with it.
Captain Cisco, my great-grandfather, he had told me about this book called The Most Dangerous Game, but I can't remember the details. However, what did survive World War III was the movie Predator. And let me tell you, you're not going to like what these guys that can cloak themselves do. Like, I'd love for that to be a thing that, like, humanity has really had to work to, like, distance itself from, like, sci-fi horror movies. And when they encounter stuff like that, being like, no, that's racist. That's like the future. That's the future of racism in the Federation.
That's what annoying progressives do. Is they talk about how problematic it is that we have old media that shows aliens as like awful monsters that'll kill you.
And if you dare make the associates, like, man, this guy is kind of like. Do you remember that movie? It was Enemy Mine with Rutger Hauer. No, how dare you make that association?
No, it's like, or it becomes very illicit to like watch them. It's it's like coded as right.
Don't talk to him. He watched The Last Starfighter. We found out.
So speaking of Predator, the guys who are going to be preying on our dangerous game will finally
Oh
be
my
entering the
god.
chat here. So another ship comes through the wormhole. We're like, huh, wonder who these guys are. Well, they don't introduce themselves so much as start shooting at Deep Space Nine and just clowning it. They just start clowning it. And here's where the writing gets a little sloppy and a little ridiculous and a little stupid. They shoot at the space station. The space station does not shoot back. It effortlessly lowers its shields and beams like
The
intruders.
aliens
The
effortlessly
aliens.
lower Deep Space Nine.
Yes. The aliens from the Gamma Quadrant that they don't know, after having breached the shields and essentially seeing no challenge at all from Deep Space Nine in using any weapons that they may or may not have to stop them, show up on the promenade and get into an open firefight with Cisco, Kira, Odo, and the Bajoran goons that are part of Odo's security force. This is definitely among the shittier gunfights you'll ever see in
Right at
Star
home
Trek.
in Enterprise.
Yes, like absolutely would have belonged in Enterprise. They are doing the I'm going to dramatically shoot at you and then immediately try to run behind a chest high wall in a fashion that belays a comic level of incompetence when it comes to framing anything that resembles compelling action. You've got Cisco over here basically using his fucking phaser as a laser pointer. He's like not even really treating it as a weapon. And these guys apparently have like bracers that deflect phasers, and they're just like able to like deflect where the
Yes,
phasers
we've all seen Wonder Woman.
Yeah, so they're like doing the Wonder Woman thing against phasers, and they're all like having a stun off. They're all trying to stun each other. And
you're glazing over so many fucking terrible things, right? First of all,
go off, King. Go do it.
The ship shows up, and jumping back into Voyager, you know, it's always exciting to see alien ships, and I really feel like Voyager did a terrible job putting cool ships out there. So far, the stuff we've seen in Deep Space Nine, nice variation. Maybe they creatively bankrupt themselves coming up with cool shit up on DS9, and that's why like Voyager had such boring alien ship designs. But they beam in with the most whack bullshit transporter effect you've ever seen. All right, this thing's like a flash of white with a black squiggle going up and down. It looks like teenagers morphing into Power Rangers.
Yes,
we're talking Saban, late 80s import kung fu fucking sci-fi effects here. And then once that terrible transporter effect is done trying to give you a seizure, you see what I'm going to go ahead and call right now the worst alien costume design I think I've ever seen in Star Trek.
Okay, you really going to put this above the 37's gimp suits?
Put it below? Yes. The gimp suits were awful, but at least it was like, I don't know. These guys are wearing like crushed burgundy corduroy.
It looks like a 60s Star Trek.
It does. It looks like Flash Gordon. They're wearing crushed red velvet hooker boots with like fencing padded vests. They got these knockoff Cylon C-3PO helmets. It's just
it looks like
terrible.
Something a fucking 10-year-old would have made. Like
go grab Sean Connery when he's wearing that banana hammock. Like that's the same aesthetic of just
Zardoz level bullshit. Yes.
Awful. Then they got these Wookiee bowcaster rifles,
which apparently fuck hard when you have them on kill. They'll kill 3 people at once.
It just ridiculous. So they come in looking like complete assholes. Nobody's shooting at them. And again, all that stuff we talked about before, like the Borg coming in out of nowhere and fucking wrecking everybody. These people coming in at such a technology level, it embarrasses the premier galactic power of the Alpha Quadrant.
Not necessarily. So they're on a Cardassian space station that's been retrofitted somewhat. We've already established in the pyramid, it didn't even come with weapons, really. They had like a handful of torpedoes. We don't know if that situation's changed. This is not the premier Federation technology. It's
Type 2 phasers.
Yeah, right? They have hand weapons, but that's it.
Sure. So, I mean, again, you're seeing just people that, for all intents and purposes, are Borg level going ape shit on you, and they're pulling punches all over the fucking place. So everything you said about Cisco's response to this being ridiculous is absolutely correct.
The most ridiculous part is that they eventually use a bowcaster to blow open the door to Odo's office. Odo, who, by the way, refuses to wield a weapon. He's definitely the Andy Griffith of Deep Space Nine. He will not use a gat. To the point where like Kara's like dual wielding pistols instead.
I'm gonna stand here and do nothing. All right, well, listen, dude. I'm gonna have a Cisco moment with you. Come on up to my office. So, what's it say here about you not using a phaser? No, I refuse to. Okay, well, here's a YouTube clip. This thing's called T1000, and here's your options. Option 1 is this phaser with stun, and option 2 is you become a walking Terminator that forms holes where phasers are supposed to be going through, and your fucking arms are knives. Okay. And then somebody else comes through behind you with a phaser on wide dispersal to burn all the blood off of the floor from all the people you've just decapitated. You get option 1 or you get option 2. There's no option 3, which is stand behind Kira and watch.
They blow open the door to Odo's office. They find Tosk in lockup because, of course, he got caught trying to get to the weapons and then wouldn't say why. And suddenly, the conflict ends. Like, the Starfleet people come in behind. They're not trying to shoot him, even though that's all they've been doing at each other. They see him. He's like, takes his helmet off. And then Cisco's like, okay, I guess we're done. And he just like holsters his gat and is like, I guess we're going to have like a whole fucking thing now. We're going to have like some monologuing. It's just there's no reason for him to think that this is now a situation where he doesn't have to have his weapon out or he shouldn't be actively trying to stop this man.
Cisco is not too good to jail a juvenile and hold him as blackmail to force somebody to stay as a resident on the station to that's not blackmail. I guess that's extortion, right?
Yes. Yeah.
He is too good to shoot a guy in the back who just blew a hole in the fucking wall after gunning people down in the promenade. I'm telling you, man, this dude's got some funny morals.
So, we find out here that Tosk is the title of the species that he is, and that species is bred to be the prey of this other species, and it's considered an extremely high honor for the Tosk to be selected for the hunt, and the amount of difficulty they put the hunters through in capturing them is essentially a evaluation of their worth. That's what we're building up to here. So the fucking asshole hunters in the hooker boots are still extremely assholish and standoffish and saying they're very disappointed that the Tosk was captured, and now that means he's going to suffer the worst possible fate, which is to be brought back to the planet alive and be ridiculed by children that will throw things at him for failing to be good prey.
Real beautiful, wonderful species that's fallen into Deep Space Nine's lap here. This is the part of the plot I like, that there is a disappointment that nobody is happy about, right? Like, these hunters, they're not like, ooh, we got you, now you're gonna look like a fucking clown. It's like, oh man, I feel bad for you. How could you let this happen? Like, this is bad across the board, and everybody's real salty about it. And then the Federation's like, oh my goodness, my pearls. What do you mean you hunt somebody?
Well, and this is where I think the writing failed itself a little bit, because this idea is really good, and you really could have actually had Cisco figure out, oh no, the solution to this is that I help them escape and they get their hunt back, and that makes everyone happy.
Again, they needed a B plot here. There needs to be something very important that is consuming Cisco's time, where he has a reason why he has not been involved with this at all. And that he could not be the person to come up with this solution, because this is a real bad look for him across the board. Did we get a species name? Did these guys ever pop back up, or is this a one and done?
This is a one and done. They're just
I don't ever want to see these fucking boots ever again.
Yeah, so like in the end, instead what they go with is, well, the Prime Directive says we have to let this happen, and it boils all the way down to O'Brien going back into the bar and abusing Quark a little bit more and calling him barkeep before realizing actually what he needs to do is help this guy jailbreak. and go back on the run and fulfill his purpose. And so rather than a more clever and interesting solution where everyone's involved, it's O'Brien who rigs the Chekhov's gun from Act One weapons scanner to blow up on the asshole Hunter when he goes to leave with Tosk. O'Brien, who has left his comm badge in Odo's office, so he does not hear an order to stop.
Yeah, he's gone full lethal weapon here.
Yeah, he's off the reservation, and he then goes on a lethal weapon style shoot 'em up with Tosk, trying to help him escape, up to and including essentially being accessory to at least 3, possibly 4 murders, because Tosk is off the chain now. His job is to be difficult prey, which apparently means kill the people who are hunting you. Makes sense.
Math makes sense, yeah.
And so he like basically a predator jumps onto one guy and just like smacks him down and grabs his gun.
He didn't smack him down, he threw him off the fucking bridge.
Yeah. And when they're escaping close to Tosk's ship, 3 of them corner him, and Tosk unleashes with the blaster crossbow, the bowcaster, and it fucking hits the main dude in the chest. Definitely fucking kills that guy, and probably kills the 2 guys next to him with the blast. Like, that guy died so hard, we saw his fall to his knees dead twice. Mm-hmm. They're like, we just want to make real sure that guy's fucking done. He's smoking.
Bosk killed that guy in a way that I haven't seen since Jerry Taylor killed Lon Suter and Seska. The splash damage, just killing the other 2 people. What if when they jump him on the bridge, like the first guy that Bosk gets, like if he just got his claws in the guy's abdomen, just ripped him in half and there's blood. I want to see the moment of regret on like, my God, what have I done? I have made a terrible mistake.
So O'Brien gets him onto the ship. Says, the boss gives him a compliment to say, "Die well."
Well, there's like a scene too where they're crawling through like the vents and the hunters are like lethal weapon shooting up there. A little bit of Die Hard.
Yeah.
And O'Brien's just along with it. And at a point he's like, man, this is like a whole active shooter thing now. Like,
I've created a whole problem, haven't I?
There's not
meanwhile, this problem has been detected by Ops, and Cisco realizes what's happening. And in his only moment where he makes a correct decision in this episode, he's like, "Hey, Odo, just kind of let this happen."
What's the worst that could happen? I don't have any eyes on this. I don't know if there's civilians' death. I'm assuming there's not a breach to the outer hull.
Whatever, this place is already a wreck. What's 4 more fucking bullet holes in it? Hey, we'll fix them later. Just let's let this play out. I like this violence happening on my space station. I want more of it.
Dax, by any chance, Dax, old friend, do you think that when the captain of the ship out there is reported dead, that the ship that just shithoused us once might get mad and like fuck us up again? Am I putting everybody's life at danger here? So they get back to the ship. Again, as a father, let me tell you, if I was trapped in a crawl space that was getting perforated by gunshots as I'm following this fugitive murderer, I'd be like, man, I got a wife and kid at home. What am I doing? None of that. They get to the Bosk ships. Bosk's like, you are now Tosk too, because we've both committed. You are Tosk means one hunted. Tosk also means accessory to murder in my language.
it's a nuance in our language.
You are now Tosk. You also have 5-star rating in Grand Theft Auto. You should run with me because you're a fugitive. And O'Brien sits there and it's like fucking wow, this is a really great day at work. Like just the fucking trauma on this guy's face. Like, how much do you hate your wife and kid? Like, you're sitting here entertaining us like, I don't know, man. On one hand, like my pension.
This was cool. I didn't kill a lot of people. I am into that, but
on one hand, my Starfleet pension. I guess I got a family. On the other hand, I could get away from my family. We can fly through that butthole. Maybe there's I don't have to eat fucking weird fish eyes anymore, or whatever that scene with Kiko was at dinner back in
TNG. Yeah.
What was that? Chain of Command? No. The
The
wounded.
wounded. Yeah.
O'Brien, a very clear scene of I want out of my life. Is this the option to get me there?
But he has a final goodbye where he tells him to die well, and O'Brien has that moment of like, oh yeah, this is really meaningful to him to die
Die
well,
with honor.
die with honor.
Yeah,
And
I like that a lot.
yeah, I like that O'Brien was hesitant for a second and then like realized, oh, that's like he's telling me, he's giving me the deepest compliment he can, so I need to provide it back. And
Yes, grab Thar's hammer to you as well.
they wrap up. He escapes, and the episode ends with Cisco being like, "Boy, you really fucked all that up, didn't you? You like broke all the laws and all the rules, started a whole bunch of shooting. We've got 4 murders that happened here at a minimum.
For a
Every
species we've just met for the first time.
And this is how our first Gamma Quadrant first contact happened. This is going to look great with my bosses, who probably don't want me to be here at this point anyway. Really appreciate that, Miles. They're already all asking." And he's like, like, "You do this again, you fucking go rogue again, I'll have your badge." And he's like, "Okay,
I like
yes,
he
sir."
calls him out too. He's like, "You left your fucking comm badge behind. That's a very clear fuck you to me."
Yeah. Like, you made sure that you didn't hear me tell you not to do this. I know that's what you did.
And then the scene, he's like, "All right, I just yelled at you in a pretty good dress down. Like, I've seen a lot of Archer yelling at people lately. There is no Cisco does not have the intensity of a golden retriever, right? Cisco is a scary guy. I would not want to piss Cisco off." And then O'Brien hangs around and goes, "Okay, yeah, but before I leave, like, I noticed you didn't stop me."
He's like, "Yeah, must have got by us." Gives him the wink and kind of just, nerfs his own dress down. And that's where we end the episode.
Hey, are you also dirty and willing to just completely break rules regardless of consequence? Wink.
Well,
this is the start of a beautiful relationship.
it is, though. I mean, I will say that this story is cool in a lot of ways, not because it necessarily ends with the most coherent writing, but it establishes that O'Brien knows that Cisco is down to do dirt. That definitely comes into play later.
So take this episode and compare it against Rogue Planet, which is my most accessible memory of a episode where it's people who have a culture of hunting things meeting Starfleet. And I don't know who bungles it more.
I think that Rogue Planet bungles it more because it's this stupid Pokemon, alien lady thing, where this actually does have some interesting things going on. Like, O'Brien's good in it. I like his like getting to know this guy. I like Tosk as as the prey, and the idea that his duty is in fact to be hunted, and he actually considers that very much his life's work. It is what he was bred to do. He's genetically engineered to do it, and that this species really takes it seriously. Like, this isn't some shit we're doing to be cruel, that it's part of our society. Like, a task that's good at being prey is honored in the chase. Like, there's a lot there that could be very interesting. It's botched in the writing. It's botched in the ridiculous way that they write Cisco, but I'll give this more credit for trying.
I need commentary out of these guys. There needed to be a scene on Ops or somewhere else, or maybe even between Cisco and O'Brien. Like, man, that's our first contact with this quadrant. Like, the first exposure we have to a culture out there is that they're breeding sentient things to hunt and kill, regardless of consequence. And this embodies the spirit of their entire civilization. Like, what are we in for? What are we standing on the precipice of?
There was so much they could have done here that they didn't, that held it back. Oh, most certainly, and absolutely agreed.
And that's the thing with like Star Trek episodes, right? Like, you can have a goofy plot, you can have terrible costumes and bad action sequences and shoddy writing, but like, you get through the event and then it's the crew's reflection on that and foreshadowing, and like that's where you can redeem these episodes. Is like, man, that was something. Now let's talk about it. How does your main cast feel? How is this going to potentially shape us moving forward? Do you think we should put passwords on the computer as to where our guns are? Like, let's grow from this. Do we need to have a shipping on the other side that as they see stuff coming in, it shoots a buoy through the wormhole to say, hey, the redcoats are coming. Cool stuff they could do, and cool stuff hopefully they do start doing. And have a feeling we're not going to get those conversations about what happened here because,
yeah, what's next, brother?
man, am I traumatized, Joe?
Yeah.
Season 1, Episode 7, Q-less. Robert Hewitt Wolf is the teleplay. Story by Hannah Louise Shearer, directed by Paul Lynch. And there's old Q in his DS9 issue jumpsuit. You know, if there's someone I'm tired of fucking seeing in a post-Voyager world, it's Q.
No, this ain't gonna help. If anything, this episode doing what it does definitely made it so that they didn't repeat the offense.
They saved all of that for Voyager.
Yeah, they I guess figured out after doing this one, like, oh, this character doesn't fit here, and they did not do it again. But we must endure it at least the one time. Sorry about that. So, sorry to all of you two out there who's going to have to listen to us rag on this thing.
You know, I mean, you've got a good new concept. Why the need to drag the old tricks through?
Because that's it's you think that's what you got to do to get people who are watching TNG to come over. I get the idea at the time. Okay, let's get the, like, they used Lursen Bator well, right? Let's have
100% on the
sisters. Do that. Okay, well, let's have a Q episode. Maybe that'll work. And like some of this stuff they figure out doesn't work, and they figure out what does. Right? That's what early Star Trek seasons do when they're all rough, but all the good ones, the good
TNG
shows,
did it too. I mean, the number of fucking original series episodes that got recycled through there was disgusting.
And here we've got basically TNG episodes that don't fit, that end up helping ultimately DS9 figure out what it's actually
find
about.
Its footing.
So part of that process, part of that learning process will be before us next week. Thank you again to all of you who are listening to us here on Future Please. We appreciate it. If you're interested in our Patreon, where we have exclusive episodes, a lot of movie reviews, including the legendary Tank Girl review that will never be seen by anyone that doesn't pay for it.
And you will pay.
We had to pay. Money. You can see us at www.patreon.com/featureplease. Go check us out there. Give us a few bucks here. We would appreciate the support in just, enough to pay for all the podcast bills. That's all we're looking for here. Peter and I are blessed. We're not trying to make money at doing this. We're just trying not to lose money at doing that. We'd appreciate
keeping my wife off my back.
Yeah, same. And we'll all talk to you later.